Hey everyone. Uh, Tiffany, or well, yeah. You know what? I'm gonna be changing my YouTube name anyways. Pally Papillion. And so I've been thinking more about the video I posted a couple weeks ago, which I still never really came to any conclusion on. Except for I think I probably did. I just didn't realize it. And the video was about why did this person from Nubian News, how is it she was, in essence, speaking my story about what happened between Jeannie and I? How is it that, you know, if he's my twin flame, then I went to his farm in a different country with blinders all over the place and, like, woke up and realized that nothing was as it was promised to me to be. And I didn't want to really deal with the idea at the time, even though I've been trying my best to pull away from Jeannie. But there's still been that tether. So I just assumed, well, this is the twin flame. But it's not. I think that's what I finally realized. That was the moral from the story, is that he actually was my soulmate, my karmic soulmate. And the instant attraction could just be because that's what I said I wanted to learn, or something like that. But um I guess I'm finally ready, able to just cut these cords. I think I'm finally in a position of the self-love of he can't say or do anything now that is going to bring me back. This isn't saying I haven't forgiven. I have forgiven from here until the moon and back. What it's saying, though, is I have my boundaries. I have my self-respect. And I mean, if it's God's desire for me to work on my heart and figure out how to have a relationship with him, if he were to come back and confess everything, we were to actually try to work through on building things. If that was what God wanted, then I would try it. But I really don't think that that's what God wants. This is my new little bungee chair. I love it. It's just lounging here. So, and going to my church has been incredibly heart-opening experience. It's been teaching me so much about how to love myself, how to stand in my truth, how to be respectful, and honestly, it's finally reaching a point where it is filling that void in my heart, because I've been trying so hard to meet them where they're at, to find love where they want to be unlovable, to find ways of connecting. And this is why, despite everything that goes on with Casper, I mean, we're more or less business partners, really good business partners. I would say even best friends. There's always been that missing romantic part. There's always been that missing passion, that missing something that brings two people together to want to work collaboratively on something. So, but, I mean, there was that question of, is he actually my divine masculine? And Jeannie was the one that tempted me away from my divine masculine. But now, I really don't think either of them are. And so in this thing of listening to Nubian News tonight, I was reminded of Lilith's energy. Lilith has been really strong with me over the past few years. I mean, when I had my awakening experience, she was one of the first guides. There was 3 of them that stepped forward and said they would guide me. And I didn't really know what was going on. I mean, I was kind of scared because 2 rather, badasses in the spiritual realm stepped forward for me and said that they would be my like my lapis lazuli. I'm just gonna let it hang out there or sit there. Stepped forward and said they wanted to guide me. Lilith and Mashimon. Mashimon is more obscure unless you're of more the Mayan or South American cultures. Even some Mexicans know about Mashimon. But he was a Mayan god. And then the other one that stepped forward for me was I think her name is pronounced Beabo. That's how I've always pronounced it. But in essence, she carried both masculine and feminine energy. And that became a theme through my awakening process, was understanding this masculine and feminine energy. So, but I hadn't spoken to Lilith really much since a few months after I'd met Jeannie, I knew things were going bad. We had already had our first breakup. I was trying. No, wait, we hadn't even broken up yet, but I knew that he was pulling away. After like 2 weeks, it was like all of a sudden he didn't really like me, but he was tolerating me and stringing me along and whatever. So I had a conversation, or several conversations with Lilith. Some channeled writing came through about a sacred relationship between her and Mashimon. And I'll get into that some other day, I guess. It seems to be coming out right now. But now Nubian News presented a story of Lilith I had never heard before. And most people know, if they've heard of Lilith, that she was originally Adam's first wife. But because she didn't want to be subjected to a man, she didn't want a partner, in essence, or be on the bottom. She wanted what she felt was her due respect. So Adam asked for Eve, and Lilith left the garden. And supposedly in this story, she left as an owl. There's my owl. And when Lilith did this, she flew into a dark garden. So the thing is, well, did she go into the garden of the serpent? As the tempter? Did she go to that garden? This is interesting for one reason. I mean, several reasons. But I'm going to continue with the story before I get to that. So while she's wandering around in this garden, she finds a crack in the wall. And she's able to see back into the Garden of Eden. She's watching Adam. And she finds herself longing for Adam. And then she sees Eve. And she finds this jealousy rearing up into her. What does Adam see in her? Lilith is watching this for quite a while. And at first she was committed to tearing apart anything that would occur between Adam and Eve. And eventually she realized, though, she's just going to leave them be. And that she can't be Eve. And never want to be Eve. So, this story, it leads to the insights I gained about Lilith. And and this sacred relationship between her and Mashimon. The way I came to understand it was that they were king and queen of the underworld. Mashimon was first the Christian church when they came in, or when, the conquistadors came over. Of course, they were welcomed because they it was thought that they were the feathered serpent, the return of Quetzalcoatl, because they were coming from the east, and they were fair-skinned. So they were welcomed. Now, of course, with the conquistadors and then the settling of the Americas came the whole thing of the Christian missionaries. So when the missionaries are down among these tribal people, and they're trying to, and what Christians did is they often would take the beliefs of that particular culture and then appreciate, I don't know if I'm saying that right, with their beliefs and try to draw parallels between them. So in an effort to get people to stop worshiping Mashimon, they renamed him Saint Simon. Mashimo didn't like that. He was like, nope, I am who I am. And I'm not going to be who you want me to be. And so he became a rebel. And then, of course, in the Christian church, anyone that was a rebel was considered of Satan. Lilith was considered evil, of Satan. Mashimo was considered of Satan. And you see, at the time, when I first realized this relationship between the two, I hadn't even really come across that particular part yet. Or maybe I did. I don't know. Regardless, though, they were king and queen of the underworld. And they had a twin flame relationship. And Lilith eventually left there because she needed to find herself. And Mashimon is trying to get her to even believe in herself. But Lilith wanted to hold on to all this anger, and yet Mashimo kept trying to tell her, you have this light and this beauty inside of you. You have this ability to lead your people fairly and wisely. Mashimon, I was honestly attracted to Mashimon, and Mashimon and I have kind of had a relationship, in the first year of my awakening. I haven't really talked to Mashimon much since last year. I talked to Lilith and Mashimon shortly after meeting Jeannie, and that was the last time I spoke to them. 18 months ago. Or maybe not quite. Yeah. Anyway. Venus in retrograde. Daughter of Venus kept coming up for me. I kept being called Daughter of Venus and whatever I was channeling. Thought that was interesting. Anyway, so there's this connection. Lilith had to leave to go find herself. And in the process of finding herself, she ended up being able to get rid of her anger and her self-righteous behavior that wanted to say that woman should not be subject to man. But what she came to realize is it wasn't subjugation to work in partnership. And to have partnership, a lot more would get done. So then there was a thing of returning back to Mashimon. And I don't know where things went from there. See, they didn't want to tell me that part of the story. Maybe it hadn't been written yet. Maybe me in my incarnate form was actually writing this next chapter of it. Because I did have this feeling that Mashimon was connected to Jeannie. Well, rather, to Samba. And I thought Samba had incarnated into Jeannie. Or jumped into his body, rather. And then there was even a thing of Samba had decided to leave when Jeannie and I broke up after I went to his farm. And I'm thankful I've got my life. After all that experience, I didn't understand why I couldn't let go of Jeannie. After all that, it was like I had to forgive, but how? So, I mean, I did. And I forgave a lot. A lot. But I think it is time for me to actually really let him go. Because finding myself means letting go of that angry, vindictive part of me. Now, here's another interesting thing about Jeannie. The first time I saw him, physically, when I first arrived in his country, we were standing face to face, and I almost stumbled backward because I looked into his eyes, and all of a sudden I saw my mom. It was like his face just completely transformed right before me. And from then on, that image of his face and her face, like, transposed on top of each other, it's just indelibly imprinted in my mind, and every single memory I have, it's that face combination. And I knew on some level, then he started reminding me of my mom a lot. First, I thought it was he reminded me of my dad. And there was my own daddy issues that came up, in the beginning of the relationship. But I didn't realize that it wasn't about me healing my daddy issues. But I realized just the other day, finally, when my mom contacted me again, we've had a really rocky relationship. And one of the things I've decided is, I'm healing the generational curse. I'm healing this genetic, lineage. Because it's been passed down to my daughter. And I said it was going to stop with me. And my mom is not interested in healing. So she contacted me the other day, and once again, her favorite sign-off phrase of F you, whatever other expletive she could put in there. And it was just like, I'm done. I'm done entertaining this. I'm done trying to think I can keep trying to heal myself. I forgave her a long time ago. For everything that had happened. I just wanted some closure. In the sense of, at first I wanted to know why, but then I realized the why wasn't even important anymore. It was, we need to discuss this and not just pretend that this elephant in the middle of the room doesn't exist. We need to discuss this because this is happening with your granddaughter. And I'm not going to allow it to happen. And I'm seeing things that I'm doing that is mirroring you. And what happened? Why can't we talk about this like adults? And just 2 days ago, I was like, my mom's never going to grow up.